Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest.
And I'm Hem Kaur. On the show today, we're witnessing new lows in the ties. We're talking about the United States and close ally Israel that have been seen during this ongoing war. The United Nations Security Council, it approved a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, and the United States abstained from voting instead of vetoing the resolution. Something that's not gone down well with Israel. We'll of course track all of the developments on that front for you on the show today.
Also on a World DNA today, we are looking at all the developments coming in from Pakistan. The Pakistan Navy's aerial unit stationed in Balochistan came under attack in the wee hours of the morning. The attack was claimed by terror organization Baloch Liberation Army, which is designated a terrorist group by Pakistan, United Kingdom and United States. Now, reports suggest that Pakistani security forces foiled the attack, killing 4 insurgents. We'll bring you the latest on that front as well.
And of course, on the show, we'll be joined by our correspondent Susan Tehrani, live from New York, getting us all the updates from there. We will also be later joined on the show by our correspondent Alison Lagrange, live from Durban, with all the updates from the world of entertainment. But first, the headlines.
Netanyahu abruptly scraps a visit to Washington this week by a senior delegation to discuss Rafah offensive, as ties between Biden and Netanyahu sink to a new low with the passage of a Gaza ceasefire resolution at the United Nations.
Pakistan security forces kill 4 terrorists as they foil an attack on one of the main naval facilities in the volatile southwestern Balochistan.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says that last week's deadly attack at a concert outside Moscow was carried out by Islamic militants. Suggests it was also the benefit of Ukraine and that Kiev may have played a role.
Another legal setback for Donald Trump as the hush money trial start date is set for the 15th of April as judge refuses call for dealing the trial after Trump's lawyers claimed that they did not have enough time to prepare.
Bharatiya Janata Party Lok Sabha candidate from Himachal Pradesh, Mandi, Kangana Ranaut hits back at an objectionable post allegedly made by Congress leader Supriya Srinath, says every woman deserves her dignity.
Top seed Carlos Alcaraz breezes into the quarterfinal of the Miami Masters with a straight sets win over French veteran Gael Monfils, and the Spaniard will face Italy's Lorenzo Musetti next. All right, the United Nations Security Council, it's approved a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
Israel's longtime ally, the United States, abstained from voting. And experts say this highlights the all-time low in the ties between US President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who was expecting the US to veto the resolution altogether.
Now, soon after the vote, Netanyahu also abruptly scrapped a visit by a senior Israeli delegation to Washington. The aim of the meeting was to discuss Israel's planned offensive in Rafah.
According to Netanyahu's office, the failure of the US to veto the resolution is a clear retreat from its previous position and will hurt Israel's war efforts. The threat of an offensive in Gaza's Rafah has increased tensions between US and Israel. Experts claim if the crisis is not managed carefully, it's only going to continue to worsen with time.
Now, the suspension of the meeting in Washington, it also jeopardizes the United States' efforts to tackle the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza.
Well, at the same time, it puts a major obstacle in the way of Biden administration to get Netanyahu to consider alternatives to a ground invasion of Rafah.
Biden's decision to abstain from UN voting, it also appears to reflect the growing US frustration with Netanyahu.
Earlier this month, Biden said that Rafah invasion will be a red line. However, he added that US is not going to cut off military aid to Israel. Netanyahu dismissed Biden's criticism and vowed to press forward in Rafah.
On the other hand, both the leaders are dealing with political pressure. In November, Biden will face his Republican rival Donald Trump as he aims for another term at the White House. The US president faces pressure not just from America's allies, but from a growing number of fellow Democrats, as they call to limit Israel's offensive in Gaza.
At the same time, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is facing domestic challenges of his own. Far-right coalition members are demanding a hard line against the Palestinians, and he is also facing growing calls from hostages' families to bring back their loved ones. And the frequent protests calling for Netanyahu's resignation only adds to those problems.
Now, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Listen to this.
The United Nations Security Council finally passed a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza for the month of Ramadan. This breaks a 5-month impasse where the U.S. had vetoed several other resolutions prior, and a U.S.-backed resolution was rejected on Friday. The U.S. abstention on Monday allowed this resolution to pass. The U.S. had planned to veto any resolution that called for a ceasefire without mentioning the hostages, but did not veto Monday's resolution because it links the two issues, although the language is different than the resolution put forth by the United States on Friday. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations criticized the Security Council's resolution for once again failing to condemn Hamas's atrocities and attacks on October 7th against Israel, comparing it to the Council's quick condemnation of terror attacks in Russia and Iran, suggesting a double standard. While the chamber erupted in applause after the resolution was passed, it's hard to foresee any real change happening on the ground, at least for now. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
All right, now for more on this, we're being joined by Dr. Avner Cohen, who is the Professor of Non-Proliferation and Terrorism Studies at the Middlebury Institute, joining us live from Monterey, California. So thank you so much for joining us. Of course, first things first, this is being seen as a new low in ties between Israel and the United States. How do you see ties going forward?
Well, it's a problem. As long as Bibi Netanyahu remains the prime minister, the rift will be growing. Actually, he's trying to take advantage of that to save his office, to save his own seat by making some kind of pleas for his extreme right-wing coalition partners. The rift that he created with the United States is primarily self-inflicted. It's not good for the release of the hostages. It's terrible for the rest of the deterrence posture, and he became more and more a burden for Israel itself. This is a prime minister in his last moment in office, and he is making incredible pains for his own country.
Dr. Cohen, now it's understandable and it's known that Israel is continuing with the war effort because US supports it. What are the possible reasons for Netanyahu being so adamant on his stance on Rafah? Can they do it without US support?
Militarily, Rafah is not a big deal. The question is how to do it in a way that would not create humanitarian crisis. Rafah, as you know, is crowded with 1.4, 1.5 million people. To remove them is a nightmare. There are 4 light regiments of the Hamas. With them or without them, it's not that kind of a big deal. Benjamin Netanyahu making it a big deal in part for domestic reason, in part to achieve what has become more and more unachievable, that is to say, to eradicate Hamas. Israel has done fantastic tactically, and yet strategically Israel fails to eradicate Hamas, because Hamas is not the kind of organization, even if it's going to be defeated almost at any level militarily, it cannot be eradicated politically, strategically, and as an organization. And that's the problem.
Hamas that can be defeated but can't be eradicated. That was Dr. Avner Cohen joining us from Montreal, California. Thank you so much for sharing all your insights with us, sir.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Moving on now, Pakistani security forces have killed 4 terrorists as they foiled a major attack, and this was on one of its key naval facilities in Balochistan province.
According to the Pakistani government and police officials, the attack took place at their second largest naval air base, PNS Siddiqui, in Turbat. Pakistan's terror outfit, Balochistan Liberation Army, the BLA, claimed the responsibility of the attacks, and the naval facility stations Pakistan Navy's aerial unit near Turbat city. Local sources tell WION that the unit has been stationed to provide security cover to the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, since 2017. The Balochistan Liberation Army, BLA, is a terror group based in southwestern Pakistan, designated as a terror outfit by Pakistan, United Kingdom and the United States. The BLA has been attacking Pakistan's security forces and defense infrastructure since March 2021.
Till March 2024, the BLA, in fact, it's attacked security outposts at least 10 times.
All right, for more on this, our correspondent Anas Malik joins us from Karachi. Anas, what's the latest on the attack that you can share with us?
Well, the latest is that Pakistani officials claim that the attack has ended. The attack that began at about 10 p.m. Pakistan time has been claimed by the banned terror outfit Baloch Liberation Army and its unit, the Bajid Brigade, that is essentially a suicide unit, and that the attack has been claimed by them. Now, while we await official word from Pakistani authorities, official security sources maintain that all 4 of the attackers had been neutralized at the gate and that they were not able to enter the premises of the aerial unit, contrary to what has been claimed by the Baloch Liberation Army, the banned terror outfit, in its statement. Yes.
Right, Anas, we discussed this earlier as well. The nature of these attacks have been, the frequency of these attacks have been increasing. It's intensified in nature as well. We recently saw one that was last week in Gaza. What do the authorities have to say on the preparedness?
Indeed, we've seen there's been an uptick in such attacks, particularly in Balochistan, in Pakistan, rest of Balochistan. We've been seeing that such attacks have been happening. Last week, you rightly mentioned there was an attack in Gwadar as well. The authorities say that they treat it as isolated incidents, but we're yet to see them coming up with a concrete strategy to ensure that such interests of with regards to the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, they remain protected. We saw a statement coming in from the Pakistani Foreign Office last week after the Gwadar attack, but just after that we saw this attack happening last night. I think it will raise some alarm bells and some heads will definitely roll. Yes.
Now, it's been 4 days since the deadly attack on the Crocus City Hall in Moscow. Russian President Vladimir Putin has stated that Islamist militants were indeed behind the worst terror incident Russia has experienced in over 2 decades.
Right, and Putin has also in fact said that the shooting fits a wider campaign of intimidation by Ukraine. Our next report has all the details. Take a look.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Monday that Islamist militants were behind the worst terrorist attack inside Russia in 2 decades. But he said the shooting also fits a wider campaign of intimidation by Ukraine, which has denied any involvement. Using rhetoric Putin has employed since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Putin said Russia must find out who benefited from the attack and who ordered it.
This atrocity may be just a link in a whole series of attempts by those who have been at war with our country since 2014 by the hands of the neo-Nazi Kiev regime.
More than 130 people were killed when 4 men burst into the Crocus City Hall on Friday night, spraying bullets at concert-goers. Islamic State has said it was responsible for the attack. It left at least 180 people injured. A district court in Moscow on Monday jailed 3 more suspects, 2 brothers, Dilovar and Aminchan Islamov, and their father, Israel Islamov. They will remain in pretrial custody until late May. Dilovar is thought to be the last owner of the car used by suspected attackers to drive to the scene and escape after the shooting. The 3 men come from Tajikistan. The 2 brothers are Russian nationals. Russian authorities had said earlier 11 people had been arrested in connection to the shooting. 4 of them, thought to be the actual shooters, were charged and sent to jail on Sunday, all bearing signs of violence allegedly applied during arrest and interrogation. France has joined the United States in saying the Islamic State was responsible, with French President Emmanuel Macron saying it would be, quote, cynical and counterproductive for Russia to try and turn it against Ukraine. He also said the same group tried to commit several actions on French soil. Since the attack, hundreds of Russians have laid flowers outside Crocus City Hall. And a St. Petersburg concert hall has announced the band Picnic will stage a memorial concert in the city on Wednesday in aid of the victims. They were the band who had been due to perform Friday night.
Moving on now, we're talking about Trump's unending legal woes that resound again. The former U.S. president's hush money case, that's seen a crucial hearing as well.
Well, though he's got some relief in the $454 million fraud bond deadline, a state appeals court has reduced the bond amount that Trump must pay in response to his civil fraud judgment. Trump has been given 10 days to pay $175 million. Failure to do this would see the seizure of his assets.
Trump's lawyers previously suggested that the appeal bond in the case be set at $100 million. This is a significant win for Trump, who is otherwise also facing a massive cash crunch.
On the other hand, a New York judge has weighed in on the hush money case against him. The judge has agreed to begin the hush money trial from the 15th of April. Trump's legal team has sought a delay over hush money paid to adult star Stormy Daniels. The trial had been delayed because of the recent delivery of tens of thousands of pages of records from a previous federal investigation. Trump's lawyers still want the case dismissed or at least delayed beyond its current April 15th start date. His lawyers say they will be disclosing new material pertaining to Daniels.
The former president has pleaded not guilty and says the prosecution is politically driven. The case centers on allegations that Trump falsely logged $130,000 in payments as legal fee in the company's books. Trump's lawyers say the payment was meant to spare himself and his family embarrassment.
Tensions between China and Philippines have flared up yet again. The two countries been at a crossroads over several confrontations in the sea.
In the latest, Beijing has blamed Manila for not keeping its promise of removing a grounded warship in the South China Sea. China's foreign ministry said that Philippines has not honored its word to remove a warship from 20 years ago.
In May 1999, the Philippines sent a tank landing ship number 57 to illegally run aground on the Renai Shoal. China immediately lodged solemn representations and demanded that the Philippines immediately remove the warship. The Philippines has repeatedly promised to tow away the warship as soon as possible, but more than 20 years have passed since then, and the Philippine warship is still grounded in the same place. The Philippines went back on its word, violating the commitments it has made to the Chinese side on many occasions.
Now, back in 1999, the Philippines had intentionally grounded an old warship at the Second Thomas Shoal.
Now, this was a move that was to counter China's military expansion and bolster its territorial claims. Ever since, the Philippines has kept a small contingent of military in this region. The backlash comes on the heels of Philippines summoning China's envoy on Monday to protest against the quote-unquote aggressive actions in the South China Sea.
The Philippines Foreign Ministry has also accused China of triggering a flare-up in the region when its Coast Guard allegedly used water cannon against a civilian boat, causing injury to some crew members. For years now, China has claimed a substantial portion of the South China Sea as its own. This also includes the second Thomas Shoal, which is a submerged reef that falls within the Philippines' 200-mile exclusive economic zone.
All right, moving on now, more than 130 Nigerian school children have returned home after weeks in captivity.
The Nigerian army rescued students and staff who were abducted by gunmen from a school in remote town of Kuriga. 6 of them are still in hospital and will be discharged once fit. The children were seized by motorcycle riding gunmen who attacked their school in Kaduna. The kidnappers had asked for $690,000 as ransom in exchange for the students, and Nigerian President Bola Tinubu had vowed to rescue the children without paying a dime as ransom.
Now, the kidnapping of the 287 students on the 7th of March was the first mass abduction in Africa's most populous nation since 2021. At least 1,400 students have been kidnapped from Nigerian schools since the 2014 kidnapping of 276 schoolgirls by Boko Haram militants in Borno.
All right, finally some good news for nature lovers. You can now get a bird's eye view of the Italian countryside.
Now, it's a Tibetan bridge that's suspended 175 meters above the ground that opens in Umbria, also called the Green Heart of Italy. It's an adventurous delight. Take a look at this. All right, with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. We will be back after the break. When we get back, more details coming in from the political scenario in India. Bharatiya Janata Party Lok Sabha candidate and Hindi film actor Kangana Ranaut has responded to a highly objectionable social media post that was allegedly posted by Congress leader Supriya Srinath. We'll get you all the details after this.
Also on the other side, 6 major tech giants are facing an investigation by EU antitrust regulators for potential breach of the Digital Markets Act. All details on the other side. Stay tuned.
The biggest democratic exercise on the planet ever. Decoding the multiple colors of this multi-dimensional, multi-layered spectacle. WION deciphers the images and the hues. Sifts real performance from rhetoric and noise, claims and counterclaims, populist pitches and hidden truths. Untangling, unraveling this celebration of democracy.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
On the next episode of World of Africa, a sigh of relief after nearly 300 abducted school children are freed in Nigeria. Hundreds of Kenyan doctors protest in the streets, demanding better pay and working conditions in an ongoing nationwide strike that has entered the second week. The doctors carried placards and chanted against the Kenyan government, saying it had failed to implement a raft of promises. And a new generation of social media influencers are making sure hotspots in Morocco's historic Marrakesh are promoted to their peers across the globe. Watch World of Africa at these times only on WION World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
From New York, we get you to the sandy shores of Durban, where I'll bring you all the glitz, glam, and happenings from the world of showbiz.
Welcome to the Eras Tour.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injuries have been moved, 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. Lots more lined up in this next half hour of the show. We are going to be bringing you all the action from the Indian political scenario. Let's get you started with the headlines.
Netanyahu abruptly scraps a visit to Washington this week by a senior delegation to discuss the Rafah offensive, as ties between Biden and Netanyahu sink to a new low with the passage of a Gaza ceasefire resolution at the United Nations.
Pakistani security forces killed 4 terrorists as they foil an attack on one of the main naval facilities in the volatile southwestern Balochistan region.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says that last week's deadly attack at a concert hall outside Moscow was carried out by Islamic militants, suggests it was also to the benefit of Ukraine and that Kyiv may have played a role.
Another legal setback for Donald Trump as the hush money trial start date is set for the 15th of April as judge refuses call for delaying the trial after Trump's lawyers claim they did not have enough time to prepare.
Bharatiya Janata Party Lok Sabha candidate from Himachal Pradesh's Mandi, Kangana Ranaut hits back at an objectionable post that was allegedly made by Congress leader Supriya Shuneth. Says every woman deserves her dignity.
Top seed Carlos Alcaraz breezes into the quarter-final of the Miami Masters with a straight sets win over French veteran Gael Monfils. The Spaniard will face Italy's Lorenzo Musetti next. Bharatiya Janata Party Lok Sabha candidate and actor Kangana Ranaut has responded to an objectionable social media post which allegedly was made by Congress leader Supriya Shuneth.
Now, the Lok Sabha candidate from Himachal Pradesh's Mandi district said that every woman deserves her dignity and we must free our daughters from the shackles of prejudices, while adding that in her film career that spreads across 2 decades, she has played various characters from all walks of life.
Now, after the BJP released its 5th list of candidates, Congress leader Supriya Shuneth's Instagram handle, a photograph was shared from it of Kangana Ranaut with the caption, and it reads, "Will someone tell what are the rates in Mandi?" Now, the post, however, was later deleted and Supriya Shuneth later on issued a clarification saying that the post was made by someone who had access to her account.
क्योंकि जो कोई भी मुझे जानता है वो अच्छी तरह से जानता है कि मैं कभी भी किसी भी महिला के खिलाफ व्यक्तिगत भद्दी और भोंदी टिप्पणी कर ही नहीं सकती हूं। मैं इसकी घोर विरोधी हूं। फिर मैंने जानना चाहा कि आखिर ये कैसे हुआ। तब पता चला कि ट्विटर पर मेरा नाम का दुरुपयोग करके एक पैरोडी अकाउंट चलाया जा रहा है। सुप्रिया पैरोडी के नाम से वहीं पर ये ऑब्जेक्शनेबल पोस्ट हुआ और वहीं से किसी ने कॉपी पेस्ट करके मेरे फेसबुक और इंस्टा पे डाला।
Meanwhile, the post drew a sharp response from the BJP leader. Amit Malviya urged Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge to sack Supriya Shuneth. Union Minister Smriti Irani also slammed the post.
National Commission for Women called for strict action against Supriya Shuneth. Rekha Sharma, the chairperson of the National Commission of Women, also reacted to the matter on social media platform X as she described Kangana Ranaut as a fighter.
I have also talked to DGP and CS, and just now DGP told me.
All right, to pivot now to what's happening in the world of business. As global supply chains undergo transformation, India emerges as a formidable challenger to China's long-held manufacturing dominance.
And that is with a surge of international investment and strategic reforms, India's industrial landscape is rapidly evolving. Take a look at this next report for more on this.
For decades, China has reigned supreme as the world's manufacturing hub. However, a changing geopolitical landscape is creating opportunities for challengers. Rising tensions between the US and China are prompting many manufacturers to diversify their supply chains. This, coupled with China's rising labor costs, has opened the door for other countries to step in. India, with its young population, is a prime candidate. The government has implemented reforms to streamline business regulations and attract foreign investment. Several Indian states, like Tamil Nadu, have become hubs for major international companies, including Apple and Foxconn. Data paints a complex picture of India's manufacturing potential. The sector currently contributes only 17% of India's GDP compared to China's 28%. However, India's manufacturing sector is experiencing significant growth, with a focus on higher value activities like electronics production. The Indian government is actively courting foreign investment through production-linked incentive schemes. These schemes provide financial benefits to companies that manufacture specific products in India. This strategy has attracted major players, which have recently established or committed to establishing production facilities in the country. Experts believe that India can carve its own path in manufacturing by leveraging its strengths in tech and software development. Integrating these skills with traditional manufacturing could empower India to develop a unique and competitive manufacturing ecosystem. While India boasts a significant advantage in demographics, challenges remain. The country's education system struggles to equip all graduates with the necessary skills, especially in rural areas. Additionally, India's infrastructure, while improving, still lags behind China's extensive network. If India can overcome these hurdles, it has the potential to become a major player in the global manufacturing landscape. The upcoming national elections could be a turning point. Prime Minister Modi, seeking a third term, has prioritized economic reforms and infrastructure development. By report, WION World is One.
Boeing is undergoing a significant leadership change. CEO Dave Calhoun has stepped down effective year-end 2024.
And this follows a series of safety concerns surrounding the 737 MAX aircraft, including, of course, the mid-air panel blowout incident that was reported in January on Alaska Airlines flight. Calhoun has been trying to control the growing pessimism around the safety and longevity of Boeing planes. While speaking to media's stakeout in the Senate's Hart building, he spoke of understanding the gravity of the situation.
Go ahead.
Any comment on the meeting?
Constructive, shared everything I could, understands the gravity of the situation. So we're going to make sure that we convey our message and all the work that we're doing in our faith. You're good, Anna. And our people.
You don't have any words of assurance for customers who are too scared to fly on a Boeing plane?
We believe in our airplanes. We feel safe airplanes. Our people do. We have confidence in the safety of our airplanes. And that's what all of this is about. And we fully understand the gravity.
Investors have reacted negatively, with Boeing's stock price dropping roughly 25% since the January incident. Airline CEOs have also expressed frustration with Boeing's management. The company is now in search of a leadership mix that can restore public trust, address safety concerns, and navigate Boeing through this challenging period.
All right, on to news now from the world of technology. 6 major tech giants are facing an investigation by the EU antitrust regulators for potential breach of the Digital Markets Act, the DMA.
The DMA, which came into effect from March 6th, is targeting big tech firms such as Apple, Google and Meta platforms. EU's DMA targets major players in the tech industry that offer services like search engines, social networks and chat applications used by other businesses. The European Commission suspects that the measures put in place by these companies, recognized as gatekeepers, might not effectively comply with the Act. The aim of the law is to ensure a fair playing field for their competitors and to provide users with more choices. Violations of this law could lead to hefty fines that include up to 10% of the company's global annual turnover.
Now, what are these tech giants being accused of? Alphabet, the company behind Google, is being investigated for how it manages Google Play and Google Search by self-preferencing. Apple's rules on steering its users to the App Store and the preferences given to the users for Safari will also be scrutinized by the EU. Additionally, Meta will face investigation over its pay or consent model.
The Commission is also investigating Apple's new fee structure for alternative app stores and Amazon's ranking practices on its marketplace. EU Industry Chief Thierry Breton emphasized that these investigations are not unexpected and need to be implemented without any delay. The EU investigations come amid escalating criticism from app developers and businesses about shortcomings in the tech company's compliance efforts. These investigations, which will be concluded within a year, will be in line with the time frame set by the Digital Markets Act for the major tech players.
And UK Deputy Prime Minister Oliver Dowden has accused Chinese state-affiliated actors of being involved in 2 cyber attacks on the UK.
Well, the hacking of the Electoral Commission and attacks were aimed at parliamentarians. He said that UK and its allies will stand in solidarity against the malicious cyber activity and that the Chinese ambassador is being called in to be held to account over these incidents.
Now, addressing lawmakers, Deputy Prime Minister Oliver Dowden accused Chinese hackers of trying to break into the email accounts of British lawmakers who were critical of China and said a separate Chinese entity was behind a hack of its electoral watchdog that compromised millions of people's data.
Dowden said that the Electoral Commission was subject to a complex cyber attack between 2021 and 2022, adding that UK's political processes have not been harmed by these attacks. He said there was a second cyber attack from the Chinese state-affiliated group APT-31 aimed at UK parliamentary accounts. He said that while the attack was blocked by Parliament's cybersecurity system and was unsuccessful, adding that targeting of MPs was wholly unacceptable.
The UK government is also planning to call out China's cyber attack in the strongest terms. UK's Deputy Prime Minister said that he would call on the Chinese ambassador over the issue, adding that he does not accept that China's relationship with the United Kingdom is set on a predetermined course. Earlier, it was reported that the cyber breach resulted in the exposure of sensitive data belonging to 40 million UK voters. Among the victims were 43 individuals that included members of parliament and peers.
It has been revealed that the hackers had gained unauthorized access to the Commission's systems for over a year. The compromised data contained voter information spanning from 2014 to 2022 and included details such as the names and addresses of registered voters. China has announced new guidelines to phase out American microprocessors from government computers and servers.
And this move is aimed at reducing reliance on technology from the United States. These new rules sideline Microsoft's Windows operating system and foreign-made database software, a move that aims to favor Chinese options instead. Government agencies above township level have been told to prioritize safe and reliable processes and operating systems in their purchase. Last December, China's Industry Ministry even released a statement listing Chinese CPUs, operating systems and centralized databases deemed safe and reliable.
Meanwhile, in the United States, efforts are underway to boost domestic semiconductor production and reduce dependence on China and Taiwan. Amid all this, tensions continue to escalate between the United States and China. Reports say the United States is considering blacklisting several Chinese semiconductor firms with links to Huawei. The move signals a broader US effort to exert pressure on Chinese tech companies amidst ongoing trade and security tensions between the two nations.
All right, now look at the stories that are making headlines in the world of sport. Major League Baseball superstar Shohei Ohtani has broken his silence on the gambling scandal that marred his debut for the LA Dodgers. The Japanese denied that he had ever engaged in sports betting.
The 29-year-old said that he is beyond shocked that his former translator had been stealing money from his accounts to pay off debts from a gambling